Welcome to the Space in Between podcast, a series where we will talk about everything and anything mental performance in a bite-sized fashion.
My name is Sienna and I'm here with Frida. We are both certified mental performance consultants from Ireland and from Sweden. I'm from Ireland. On this podcast, we will share our knowledge and passion for all things sport and performance psychology. This includes all things mindset, exercise, sport, everyday life, and insights into how we help ourselves and others with developing our mindset.
Let's do it.
And today is going to be slightly different from our usual podcast episodes.
Yeah, we're gonna talk about us.
Yay!
No, but more specifically, we're gonna talk about the space in between and how we got to where we are today. So I suppose a little bit more background and why we're so passionate about what we do.
Yeah. All right, let's get to it.
Let's get to it. So I suppose the first thing we want to talk about is who we are as people and where we come from, what our background is. So I don't know, do you want to start?
Yeah.
What's your story?
Wow. So, as I already said, my name is Sienna. I am from Inderwan, Conde na Galway in Ireland. And growing up, pretty sports mad household.
Definitely.
I played Gaelic football, camogie and handball, all from a very young age, probably 6 or 7. Maybe even probably playing sports, at home before that, but joining clubs around that age. And I played all 3 of those sports until I was 20, in college. And when I say play, I don't do anything half-heartedly. So most of my days and evenings as a youngster and a teenager were spent traveling all over Galway and the country to go training. Either with club or intercounty or with handball. I had the pleasure of representing Team Ireland as well.
Yeah.
Obviously did all the normal things like going to school as well. Then went to university down in Limerick, University of Limerick, studied, I'm like, what did I study? I studied Irish and PE, so I qualified as a secondary school teacher.
Mm-hmm.
And the main thing I learned on that journey was that I did not want to be a secondary school teacher.
Yeah, that's funny.
So and during that period as well, I kind of took a step back from camogie and football. I stopped playing intercounty and then I stopped playing with university. And then, I kind of got forced to stop playing for my club. But anyway, I stopped playing due to injury and then I focused on handball after that.
Yeah.
And then I knew in those 4 years, I definitely want to do something else. I wasn't sure what. And then I got the opportunity. I got a Facebook message from a man called Mike Wells from...
Shout out.
Yeah.
Go on, Mike.
Coach Wells in Mankato, Minnesota. And he asked me if I would like to come over and study and also play handball because I would travel to the US to play at some of the tournaments out there all during my time down in Limerick as well. And at the time when he messaged me, I was kind of like, this seems like... No, I hadn't heard of anyone doing it before from Ireland with handball because they hadn't. I'm a trailblazer is what I'm trying to say. But basically with sports psychology, we have very different stories, you had your eyes set on sports psychology, whereas I kind of looked through their courses and I was like, oh, sports psychology sounds interesting. And I was like, even if I don't say become a sports psychologist, it'll be good for my sports.
Yeah.
So that's kind of how I got into studying sports psychology. I found it interesting. I had read all the classic books, just for myself. But I had never necessarily thought about working with sports psychology until that point. And then went to Mankato, and I remember thinking in the first week of classes for sport and exercise psychology, I was like this is what it's like to go to college and love what you're studying.
Yeah.
And that was a really different experience because before that it was I like some classes, some no, they're not for me.
Yeah.
But this was like, oh, every day I'm going in to learn about something that I find so interesting. So I knew that it was definitely something that I would want to pursue more and explore.
Yeah, I can definitely relate to that feeling of going like into that masters and really wanting to learn about this, and then the first week just being like, oh my god.
Yeah.
Like every single class, I'm like listening to every single word because I'm so into this.
Yeah.
That was such a cool experience.
Yeah.
Like it was 2 years, obviously highs and lows. We can talk about that another time for both of us because it was a difficult master's program, of course. But overall, like just amazing to have that experience of just being so immersed and loving what you're doing.
And like when I think about it now, I spent 2 years in Mankato studying and playing handball. That was literally what I was doing.
Yeah.
And like I was living the dream. Like, I would walk about 3 minutes to the 4 handball courts that were available to me. The gym was like a 1 minute walk from the handball court.
Yeah.
And then where I had classes was another 1 minute walk. Like sometimes.
Yeah, you literally have everything in the same building almost.
I know. We had one class that was like 2 hours long, so we got like a 15-minute break in the middle. So like I would take my one wall ball with me, and some of the people like you would come and play handball with me in those 15 minutes. Like I remember one day outside that the whole class and the professors were playing handball against the wall.
Yeah.
Like
so good.
That is like, it was Sienna's fantasy land, basically.
That is so true.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was good.
So that was in 2021 we graduated? Or was it 2020?
2020.
2020 we graduated. Spent a year living in Texas then. Not necessarily working with sports psychology, more so like exercise psychology for the year.
Yeah, like health and wellness type of thing.
Yeah, and that was during COVID. So it was really nice to live in Texas at that time.
That's so true.
Purely because of the weather.
Yeah, that was amazing.
And then all in this time, still really focusing on handball, moved back to Ireland and been here working mostly online with sports psychology and then with strength and conditioning as well in Wildway in Moycullen. Shout out to them.
Best gym in Galway.
Yeah, absolutely. And yeah, then training with handball as well. I would say that's majority the last 3 years.
Yeah, that pretty much sums that up for you, doesn't it?
Yeah.
And I suppose in the what's interesting about that journey too, I think, I mean, there's many things we can dive into, but I think about the space in between specifically. It kind of, like the name, the space in between, we'll get to that. We're going to talk about that later on. But I even think about how your capstone, so like your project for your master's degree, was to create a website. And you put together all of these resources for your capstone, and like that was on this website that people were gonna be able to access.
Yeah.
And that's kind of the birthplace almost from this, and then from that, trying to work with people because we wanted to finish our CMPC. You need a certain amount of hours to get to CMPC, etc. Working with people one-on-one. So then reaching out and kind of through that as well. So like using that website and also social media, and then working with people online to get those last hours, and then eventually using that website still to create in the future, then in 2020, 2021, the space in between.
Yeah. Yeah, I feel like I had kind of a different mindset in terms of what I was going to do with sports psychology, because most people, obviously not you, but like majority of people who we were studying with were American.
Yeah.
And in America, there's like loads of places, not loads, but there's several places where you can literally apply for a sports psychology job.
It definitely feels like there's more opportunity over there.
Yeah, like you can look up sports psychology job, and you will get a list of jobs you could apply for. Whereas in Ireland, that does not exist.
No.
So my mind was always like, okay, if I'm going to work with sports psychology, I'll have to create something.
Create my own opportunity, yeah, for sure.
There's obviously opportunities with like the professional teams, but even that is limited in Ireland. And even a lot of consultants who work with professional teams, they have their own consultancy as well. So I always had the mindset of creating something, so then that's where that website was born.
Yeah, and I mean, that was perfect, really. Like using all of that, and then obviously over the years it's been tweaked and to fit and
Yeah.
evolved because
Thankfully, it looks very different now. Wow.
yeah, because things have changed a lot. But yeah, that was pretty cool to be able to use all of that. Definitely. And I think something that's cool about your story as well, when we think about you playing sports, is that, you know, all the sports that you played at the highest level you pretty much could at that point in time, you know. So whether that was camogie or Gaelic football or handball, like it was up there.
Yeah, I don't do things in halves.
No, clearly.
I want to achieve.
Yeah, but I even think about that as a concept of time, and I'm like, how did you even have time to do all of that?
I think about that like
And go to school. It's crazy, actually.
like I would go to school until 4 o'clock. Like sometimes, especially in Leaving Cert, I would go to the gym with my dad in the morning
Yeah.
before school, and then I would go to school from 9 till 4. Then I would go to the library for about an hour. My mom would pick me up, and we would drive an hour other side of Galway. Like, you know,
It's actually mental. Like,
I would go training for like 90 minutes, drive home, get home. I would study in the car on the way there and the way back. And I would get home and go to sleep at like 10 o'clock.
Yeah.
And I did that most days in my Leaving Cert. So, guys, you can definitely play sports when you're doing Leaving Cert.
yeah. No, but that just shows the commitment to all of that.
I know.
And then we'll probably talk a little bit more about that, but then how you eventually chose that you were going to focus on handball
Yeah.
later on. But something else I was thinking about, just your journey to sports psychology, that I find kind of amusing. It's the fact that, you know, Mike Wells had reached out around the time where you had torn your ACL.
Yeah.
So you obviously weren't in a high spirit, like not in the best time of your life, you know.
I basically ghosted him.
Yeah, for a long time.
Yeah.
And it just feels like you kind of just fell into sports psychology and found your passion.
Yeah.
Like, honestly,
Absolutely.
that's kind of what it feels like.
Yeah.
Whereas when you think about like kind of my journey to that, I kind of thought about it since I was a teenager, and I was like,
Yeah.
this is what I want to do.
Yeah, it's very different.
Yeah.
And I would like you to share what got you here today.
Okay, let's get ready for this ride. No, but compared to Sienna, I did not play a billion sports at once. I focused on soccer. I did do some different things when I was younger, but when I was 11, I decided, no, I only want to focus on soccer.
Yeah.
So I decided at an early age that, no, this is it.
There's a trend in your life, like you have known what you wanted,
Yeah.
and then you just focus on
Commit
that
to it,
one
like,
thing.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, for sure. So yeah, played soccer. I actually grew up playing soccer with boys until I was 11, 12, because there was no girls team where I lived at that point, and all my best friends were guys, so we would play together. And then when I was 12, there was kind of time, I suppose, to find like a ladies team or a girls team, teenage team, whatever. So then I found AIK, best club in Sweden. Shout out.
I'm sure they're listening.
Yeah, yeah. If they are, love ya. And I spent most of my years there. Like I pretty much played from 12 until I went to college at 18 in AIK. So all of my sporting years would have been there. And like every age group that I played until I left, I would say was at the highest standard that you probably could.
Yeah.
And there was a point in my youth career too where like AIK and the team that I played for, I would say that we were the best in the country because we won everything you could possibly win. That was probably around 16, 17 years old maybe or something like that, if I remember correctly. Many years since then now. So yeah, always played at a high standard and, you know, schooled really well in soccer. So very passionate about that. Like similar to you, like I went to school, I played soccer, and that was it.
Yeah.
You know, like pretty much that's what I did, and I loved it.
Yeah.
And then at 11 as well, that's kind of where my dream for going to college started. Don't have to go into the whole story of that because that's a different story altogether. But then I decided that, okay, I want to play college soccer in America while I'm studying because it gives me an opportunity to study and play at the same time at a high level.
I think it's so cool that you set that goal when you're 11 years old.
Yeah, I know. And it's one of those things, you know, when we talk about goal setting, like I wasn't always thinking about that.
Yeah.
That was just like, no, that's what I'm gonna do. So then I kind of didn't forget about it. It's resurfaced over the years, you know.
Yeah.
But everything I did was kind of like, okay, I'm gonna need good grades. I'm gonna have to be good at soccer so I can get a scholarship. Like all of those things came together. You know, I took that seriously. So like creating those habits, I suppose, if you listen to the podcast, listen to the podcast before this, yeah. And then eventually, you know, getting the offers and, you know, being good enough both academically and soccer-wise to get a scholarship. So that was massive. And then during that time period too, when I was a teenager, is when kind of the dream of sports psych started as well, because we worked with someone that did mental training, and then I was fascinated by this, especially because I was like, how can I be good at soccer, and I know I can do these things, but then sometimes I can't because my head is like in the way, you know.
Yeah.
It was very fascinating for a 15-year-old Frida. I was like, wow, this is mental. So I was like, okay, I want to work with this when I'm older. But that's another thing that, okay, that was like on my mind, but it wasn't constantly on my mind, you know? So then going into college, studied sociology and psychology, which makes sense. And it's one of those things, you know, like in America, especially when you do an undergrad degree, you pick your major, but it's not like I could pick sports psychology as an 18-year-old.
Yeah, American,
you know?
like undergraduate college experience is really different.
It is very different.
From like Ireland, and Sweden is kind of similar to Ireland. Like you kind of, a lot of courses you study in Ireland is for a specific job nearly. Like you walk out and you're like, I am now a lawyer.
And it's the
teacher.
same in Sweden.
Yeah.
You know, when later on I was like, okay, well, I'm living my dream now. My other dream is to work with sports psychology, so maybe let's start thinking about that a little bit more, like how actually that's going to happen. And then I saw that, I could have done this from the start in Sweden, 5 years done, kind of thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I lived the dream in America, so I love that. It was amazing. And then I suppose looked at different schools of how to further my education. One option was to go back to Sweden, but then I decided to stay in America and eventually went to Mankato, where I met you and where the story started. And like I said before, I had very similar experience to you, like, oh my God, this is amazing. I love this. And it was so cool to every single day just learn about things that you're like, this is so cool.
Yeah.
You know?
I think it's so funny listening to like you tell how you got to like Mankato eventually, because you knew what you wanted like years in advance, and like we're like opposites on that sense. We're like, it sounds like I was just plottering along with my life, and it's like, oh, here's an opportunity.
Yeah, but you know, like with that said though, it's very cool that you even decided to do that.
Yeah.
You're like, you know what? I'm gonna go over to America and I'm just gonna play some handball and study this master's degree.
Yeah.
And then look what happened. Like, that's amazing. Talk about taking an opportunity, not really knowing what's gonna happen at all.
That's
Compared to me, that was kind of like chasing that. Everything I was doing for a certain period in time, I was like, okay, it's because I wanna do a master's in sports psychology. I wanna work with sports psychology, you know?
Yeah. That is pretty cool.
It is super cool.
I'm proud of myself.
Yeah, as you should be. Yeah, so, and then, I mean, very similar story to you. After that, you know, the space in between happened, COVID happened, which in a way was obviously awful in many ways. Before the space in between, and for us, I think it opened up a lot of doors to work online.
Yeah, we kind of saw that was a real
which has been awesome for us.
Yeah.
And it makes it really handy with individuals and with teams.
Yeah. Sure.
Obviously, there's pros and cons working online versus in person, because we do both. But yeah, that allowed us to really lean into that as well, and create what we have created until this point.
Yeah. Okay, so we know how we came to sports psychology, when the space in between happened, but like not necessarily how the space in between happened or what it even stands for.
Yeah. I do think with the name, some people catch on.
Yeah.
They're like, oh, I love that name. Like, that's good.
Yeah.
And we're like, thanks. And then I think some people probably just goes over their head. But, you know, you would think it's this meaningful story behind the name.
Yeah,
which
meaningful to me.
Which is, yeah, I suppose it could be. But I think really you should tell the story as how this even came to be.
Yeah, so like originally after we finished grad school, like when I was creating the website that I created for sports psychology, it was just called Sian Ní Chóirín Mental Performance Consulting, right?
Very creative.
Yeah, I know. Like Took me a long time to think of that one. But then as we worked together more, and after, you know, the purpose of that was done, like the website was for school, we were doing all our work together, and, you know, I'm very humble, so I was like, it seems a bit weird that this is all called my name.
Yeah.
So we were kind of thinking we want to come up with something anyway. And then it was during COVID, and I was doing a sports psychology session for a handball group. I was living in America and they were back in Ireland. And we were creating the session, and I wanted there to be like a theme throughout the session. And I love Grey's Anatomy. So I was watching Grey's Anatomy at the time for inspiration, and like,
For inspiration.
well, something that they talked about on the show, Richard Webber talked about in this episode, because they were talking about COVID as well, is like, you know, we can all be really, you know, sad and mad and frustrated and all those things, and at the same time we can use the space in between what was and what is going to be to, like, you know, do things that we love and make progress with life. And even though there's something difficult going on, you can use this. And he kept saying the space in between. And I was like, it fit the session perfectly. So
Yeah.
I decided to name the session, the workshop, the space in between. So I was going to talk to these handballers about how to use the space in between, like performances, or this space in between where COVID was happening. There was no competitions. How could we use this space in between to make progress? And then, like, I remember talking to you about it, and I was just like, that's a cool name. Like, that's a good name for a sports psychology business.
Yeah, and we were like, this is a perfect, like the space in between. There's so many ways we can use that.
I know, because we were like, the space in between your ears
Yeah.
is your brain, obviously.
Very, very literally, yes.
Or like the space in between performances, like, is when you're going to make progress. Or the space in between, like, moments in games.
Yeah, between like stimulus and response,
Yeah.
you have that moment.
So
Very good.
that's how the space in between came to be, and that's really like the thought process behind the name and what it means.
Yeah, so as you can see, quite meaningful when you talk about it like that.
That's one of those moments in my mind that I think about, like, as, like, I imagine a light bulb going off in my head, being like watching the episode, and he just keeps saying these words, and I'm like, ding.
That makes me think of Inside Out.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. And then I remember after that session, you know, we were talking about it, and then, you know, it's kind of scary to like create change and do things new. But then I remember I was just like, no, like, this is a really good name. Let's
Yeah.
change it to that. Let's lean into the space in between.
Yeah, and I
That's
love
good.
when we don't have to explain it, when people are like, oh, I love that name.
Yeah,
Yeah, especially for what we do.
yeah, yeah. No, it's very good.
Yeah.
So, I mean, that's why the name really sums up pretty much everything,
I know.
you know?
It
and,
really does.
And it might not stand out to people at the start, because, you know, you have so many businesses that might be like high performance something something, or it's very clear that, okay, it's something with
It's
mental performance.
boring.
No, it's not boring. But, you know, it's very clear that, okay, that is mental performance. And I suppose our name isn't that clear until you know what we're actually doing.
Yeah.
I suppose that can be both good and bad.
True.
But we love our name.
Yeah.
It's a good name, right?
It is a good name.
Yeah.
So now we're going to talk about sports a little bit, because as you can tell, it is a really big part of both of our lives. Frida, what is a sporting moment where you have struggled?
Yeah, and I think the reason why we wanted to talk about this question is also so we can apply the sports psych now, like later on in hindsight, you know, to this experience. And I think about my last year in college playing soccer. And the reason why this stands out to me so much is because when this happened, when I think back on it, and even when it happened, I'm like, I don't recognize myself as a player or as a person. So obviously, a little bit of backstory for my college soccer career. When I decided to go over to America to, at the time, University of Texas Pan American, women's soccer had never been a program before. So literally my year started the women's soccer program. So super cool. Also quite a challenge because you have a bunch of freshmen just coming in, you know.
Yeah.
So just a little bit of backstory there, that was like the first year ever. So every year after that, things progressed and it got different or whatever. But that was a challenge in itself. See, once again, yeah, sure. Why not go and be a part of this newly founded women's soccer program? Anyway, so that was cool to do that. But then throughout those years, a lovely experience, but also there was a lot of challenges. Over and over, I was kind of told that, you know, you're not as fit or athletic or etc. You're slow, you're not fast, blah, blah, blah. All of these things. Throughout those years, that was kind of like, you know, pushed at me a little bit here and there. And, you know, like I can see, I can agree that there are definitely people that were fitter than me. And during my whole life, there's always going to be someone that's fitter than you know?
True.
Yeah, but with that anyway, you know, I'm not as fit, etc. And obviously, like, that gets to you eventually. Like, it'll be at the back of your head or back of your mind. And it's not like I was not an athletic player, you know? But compared to, like, some Americans, I suppose, some Americans are like workhorses. They can run up and down all day. And they're so fit. But then when I think about, and not speaking for everybody, but just kind of what I saw, like, my technical skill was very high. Like, really good soccer player, even if I can't run up and down all day. As a winger or something. I don't know.
Yeah.
So strengths and weaknesses here. But then fast forward to my last year, I had finished my third year the fittest I'd ever been. And then I got injured. And that injury process was very frustrating. And then went into summer break, into my fourth year, still kind of injured, not really knowing how to come back because you're kind of on your own during the summer. And then came back that fall for my last year. And I wasn't as fit as I had been, so that was hard, obviously. But then was told, okay, you're probably not going to get much game time because you're not, like, at the standard that we want you, basically. You know, that's what's happening right now. We're just going to roll with it. And when I come in from the bench, I'm going to make an impact. All of this, too, I was not on the bench very often during my college career. So that was a change as well.
Yeah.
But with that said, though, always very supportive player, you know, even if I'm on the bench, wanting to make an impact, whether that is me not coming in at all or out getting in the pitch, right? So then fast forward, we're playing one of the biggest games, kinda, that we're going to play against a big school. For us, until that point in our 4 years of existing, we hadn't really played any like bigger name schools like that yet. So it was a big deal. And so you know all the backstory now that, like, oh yeah, Frida has heard that she's not as fit, whatever. This is something that's played on my mind. And then I started playing more and more that fourth year anyway, probably because I kept proving myself, you know, that I was allowed to play. And then before, when we had our team talk in the hotel, and this is from my experience now, to me, it felt like the coach in front of the whole team said that, no, Frida, you are not starting because you're not fit enough. I don't remember the exact words, okay? But that's kind of how it felt for me. I was embarrassed. I was so mad because I'm like, why would someone say that to me in front of the whole team? Like, I feel like so embarrassed that someone did that, you know? And then I was so mad afterwards, and I like went up and I was like punching my pillow in my room and like all of these things. And it's such a surreal experience because I didn't really recognize myself because I was so mad, and I was not able to focus again for the game because I felt so, like, just, there were so many emotions. But it was almost as if everything over all of those years had, you know, into my little cup of water here, and then that just made it explode, kind of thing at that point, you know. So I found that so difficult. And then in hindsight, when talking to some teammates, they were like, you know, we didn't see it that way, the way that the coach said it. Like, that's not the way we perceived it. So I find that very interesting mentally because I perceived it that way, but probably because of everything I had been through up until that point.
Yeah, you already had all these thoughts in your head that they had already said to you.
Yeah, and then especially in that season and from the start being like, oh no, you're not fit, you're not going to play. And then feeling like that's what was said in front of the whole team was just so embarrassing to me, and I felt so bad. So that was a really interesting experience because I literally could not focus the whole game on the bench. I just kept to myself, trying to stay away from everybody, and that's like the opposite of who I am as a player. And that was very interesting. And especially after the fact as well and thinking back on it. And it's making me feel really emotional even talking about it
Yeah.
because it was such an awful moment in my soccer career for many reasons. One, I'm not proud about how I reacted. But then I think when you think about all the different things that kind of lead into it, that it just kind of fell that way.
Yeah.
You
it
know?
was like the tipping point.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But then after that, obviously moved on to some degree. Because I remember I talked to the coach and I was like, you know, this was my experience. And we had a talk about that. But you know, that was really difficult. And I just find it interesting that I was so unable to like refocus
Yeah.
at all. Like I literally could not. I was so mad. Like if you could have seen it, probably like a little fire around all of me, walking around. Everybody stayed away from me
Yeah.
because I was just like no. And I think that probably surprised people too because that's like the complete opposite of who I was as a person and player, regardless of what had happened before.
Yeah, or if you were playing or not.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, it's wild how like, and I think, you know, that your teammates said they didn't perceive it that way, but when you have all this like nearly baggage from the last 3 years of being told those things, then that was like triggering for you.
Yeah, and especially because, you know, with the team that we were playing, it was a really good team and they were really fit as well and they had talked about it so much. So then it just felt like everything was just like, no, Frida, you're shit, basically. It's very interesting, you know, like that whole experience. So that was a weird moment for sure. We've kind of talked about that before. I think that whole experience has fueled me to other things in life. Like I've said before, you know, like now I prove myself right. Like I know that I'm a fit person or I'm capable of like all of those things. So like just because that was said doesn't mean that's true. You know?
Just because other people say that, or you know, a coach's job is to compare their players.
Yeah.
That doesn't mean that you're not fit.
Yeah.
Just because they're saying someone else can run up and down more than you.
Yeah.
You know?
And it's interesting too, this whole experience, because I think about how all of this was happening inside my head, inside my body, and other people are so unaware. Like they probably knew that I was mad, but they didn't understand why.
When they saw you punching the pillow, they probably realized something was wrong.
My teammates didn't see that, just my best friends. But yeah, and I think about the coach even that he obviously had no idea that that's what happened.
Yeah.
So I think it just goes to show that one, we never know what is going on inside people's minds or how different things might impact them, but also how your words may or may not be perceived by other people. You know?
Yeah. True. All right, so since you're feeling so down, Frida, I'm going to let you talk about a sporting moment that stands out to you for more positive reasons.
Yeah. So this one, I mean, there's many things that stands out to me, but I'm just going to talk about this one because it's just one of the first things that kind of comes to mind when I think about my career. Because like I mentioned, you know, I've been quite successful as a soccer player, especially adolescent and until America. Not that I was not successful in America, but just like, you know, anyway, it doesn't matter. So quick backstory. We were playing a team called Kansas City. And the backstory with Kansas City, and I can assure that they are so unaware of this. The rivalry that we had against them, they don't know. That we just like despise them. Because like I said, we were a newly started team, so our first year we played them. We weren't very successful the first year, lost a lot. Played them at their home venue, got hammered. They came to Texas, and we actually were tied with them until double overtime. And in America, they do this annoying thing. It's golden goals, whoever scores first, etc., etc. So there was this whole thing that we were supposed to have a free kick, but we didn't get the free kick, and then they scored after that. Because literally they ripped one of our players' shirts and we're like, how did you not call that ref? And then they won. So we were pissed because there was like 3 minutes left of this game and we were about to tie this team that hammered us and they were better than us. You know, so we were like, this is such a win, and then we didn't win. Anyway, so for 4 years that fueled our anger against playing them every single year. It was such motivation. Yeah. So then my third year we were playing Kansas City and I was like, oh, can't wait to play them. The reason this is such a feel-good moment is what happened during, but also leading up into it. So for some reason, I just started imagining, so using imagery pretty much every single day before going to bed for probably like 2 weeks. This exact sequence of what was going to happen, and I was going to score.
Yeah.
And then I was going to run to the camera and do a heart and blow a kiss to my mom and say, I love you. Okay? So I know, it's so funny, right? So I was like, okay, one of our wingers going to come down the side, they're going to cross it, and I'm going to head it into goal. And then obviously with imagery, like I, did all the things and you felt all the feelings and the smells and everything. So I just repeatedly had that scene in my head playing over and over and over again. And I was like, okay, yeah, it's going to happen. And then against Kansas City, this exact moment happened. So one of our wingers went down the side, she cut it in, and then she hit a cross, and I was running into the box, and I headed it into the goal. And it was like, oh my God, against Kansas City, like so excited. Like this whole clip is amazing because there's so many happy emotions. Like Spets is like jumping on top of me. I'm pumping my fist into the air, like it's such a good moment. And then, so this was a home game and they were all live streamed and my mom would sit up and watch every single game. Didn't matter if it was like 4 a.m. in Sweden. Yeah. She would be there watching. So shout out to Mom, love you. So I was like, I'm running over to the screen or to the camera and I like blew kisses. I made a heart and I was like, I love you, Mom. And then, the game continued. But that was just amazing.
Oh, did it? I thought it was just end.
That moment is just amazing because I just think about, all the great feelings and even how bizarre it is that I was imagining that through imagery over and over and over again. And then that exact moment happened.
You need to imagine more things because
clearly,
like all the things that you have set out to do, like you did them.
That's true. Yeah. But I just think it's funny that that's a sporting moment that stands out to me because I'm pretty sure we lost the game. We didn't win. I don't think. I'll have to go back and look. I don't remember. And it was just a normal game in the league compared to when I won Gothia Cup and like all the other things that I've won. That did not stand out to me the same way, but that particular moment with that stood out.
Yeah, that's cool.
Yeah, so it's a nice moment,
yeah,
right?
That was very like wholesome.
Yeah, I know, and I think what makes it so cute is the fact that I ran over to the camera too and like did little hearts to my mom, and I was like, oh.
I'm sure she was buzzing.
Yeah. So anyway, that was my feel-good story.
Yeah.
But I think with
you
sports
brought the mood up a lot.
Yeah, with the sports psych there anyway. I guess the power of imagery, And then when I learned about sports psychology, then in my master's, and we learned about imagery, I was like, oh my God.
That's what I did.
I did all of those things, and like it can be so powerful. So for many different, in many different ways, we can use it.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Anyway, enough about me blabbering about my happy moments. What about you, Sienna? What's a downer?
A downer in my sporting experience. I mean, definitely the thing that stands out to me all the time, if anybody asks, is when I tore my ACL or my cruciate in 2000. I tore it in 2017, playing a Gaelic football game for my club. And it was just a really difficult time. Obviously, it's like a full year injury of not being able to play any sports, and having to rehab all alone, basically. And the time that was really most difficult was like the kind of month after the injury happened, because up until that point in my life, like sport was like, I played so many sports, but also it was a huge part of my identity, and like how I saw myself as a person was like a person who was good at sports.
Yeah. And
like that was something that, I felt made me, I don't know if like worthy is the word. I don't think it was that heavy. I know I had achieved things in sport. So that's kind of like what I thought about a lot with myself. So then I remember when I tore my ACL, I remember saying to my mom, like, what am I going to do now? I can't play sports. And that was like really difficult for me because I couldn't play sports. And I, like, for people who don't, sport isn't that important, that would probably seem so dramatic, like. And even now in hindsight, I think I could handle an injury like that a lot better. But yeah, if I think about it through a lens, I mean, I even knew this a year after I had come back from my injury. I felt like, in a weird way, that was like the best thing that ever happened to me.
Yeah.
That injury. It's like one of the worst injuries you can get in sport, but I was like, that was like the best thing ever. Because I realized that the amount that I identified with sport, and we call it athletic identity, like, it was not very healthy. It was pretty much how I saw myself as a person. And after that, I decided I don't want to play every sport. I want to, for my rehab, I'm going to focus on getting back to handball, because that injury made me realize that that's actually what I care about. Like, I don't actually care about playing county football or county camogie or even playing for my club all that much. If I can never do those things, but I get to play handball, then I'm content with that.
Yeah.
You know? So that was kind of the turning point for me in like focusing on one thing. And then I think I just learned a lot about myself as a person. Like, oh, I can care about sports. I can care about being fit, and I can also enjoy a night out with my friends.
Yeah.
I can enjoy going for lunch. Because, yeah, I was in, like, probably when I think about it, coming up to that injury, I probably wasn't in a great headspace in general, just because I was had kind of stringent lines in things. Like, I was either like training for something and eating for something, or that was like kind of everything that I thought about. But the injury helped me like separate from that and kind of build healthier habits. And even now, like, I love playing handball and I want to be successful, but I also have the ability to be like, I'll be okay if I can't play, you know, for some reason, or if I lose. Yeah, in a way, it took something dramatic for me to be able to make that change and to have a healthier relationship with my athlete identity.
Yeah, I mean, by the sounds of it, you know, you were very tied up into being an athlete. That's who you are.
Yeah, that was like,
you know, that was it.
I am a sports person.
Yeah.
That was it, like.
And then the injury showed you that I play sports, and I am all of these other things at the same time.
And I think also it showed me, like, nobody necessarily cares if I play sports or not.
Yeah.
Not in a bad way. Like, everyone wanted me to get healthy and be able to play again, but like, nobody cared if I wasn't achieving something in sports. So, like, I think it helped me just see Anna as, you know, I'm obviously really funny and
here we go.
Yeah, like, there's other things going on there.
Yeah.
Not just my physical capabilities. Yeah, but so it was a tough time, but by the end of it, even by the end of coming back from the injury, like a year later, I felt a lot better about, you know, myself, even if it was difficult to actually play sports again, you know.
How do you think, sorry I interrupted you there, but I'm going to keep going. How do you think that going to America might have helped you continue with this transition? Because that was fairly close together, wasn't it? Coming back from...
I mean, my first tournament back was actually in Minnesota.
Oh yeah, that was right before you came.
Yeah, it was in August of 2018, and then I was moving, that was me moving there. Like, I stayed in Minnesota then. Yeah. So I think that helped me. Well, I mean, the main thing I think was easier there was nobody was asking me to go and play camogie or football.
I mean, it's kind of like when you go somewhere else with people that don't know you. Like, when you go back home, people know you for, you know, all of the years of growing up and, like, the person that you have been.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah.
But then in America, you're Sienna from Ireland. That's all we know about you. No offense.
That was my identity in America. The Irish girl. But yeah,
you know what I'm saying.
I agree with you, actually. Like, obviously, everyone knew that I played handball, but nobody even really knew what that was all about.
We did know, though, that you were a star. So
what? Because Dr. Kampoff said
it? Yeah. So that's funny, actually. We just knew you were really good at this very weird sport that we had never heard about before. Not weird sport at all. I don't mean it like that.
Yeah.
But yeah.
I think America moving away helps a lot of the time, because it allows you to just, not that I was never not being myself, but it allows you just to let go of those other like things that people associate you with.
Yeah.
I wasn't just a person who played sports. Like, I was able to kind of put myself out there as just not that. Like, handball was something I played, not everything that matters to me.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. No, that's interesting, like with going somewhere else like that, because, you know, and I think not completely change the topic, but then coming back to Ireland, that was an interesting adjustment too, because you have spent so many years being somewhere else and your whole life has kind of changed in a way.
Yeah.
That sports psychology is something that's now so big in your life, and like, you know, what you think is important, and then coming back here, it's like, okay, well, how do I fit into this? How are people gonna take me seriously that I now have my own business and this is what I want to do?
Yeah,
Like, you get
still
what I'm
wonder.
saying? Yeah, if you get what I'm saying. You know, it's a very interesting, like.
No, but
yeah.
that's a completely different topic altogether.
I know.
So
Reel it back in. So, long story short, pretty much with your ACL is that it was one of the best things that happened to you.
It really was.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And look at your strong knee now.
I know, it's great. Jeez, I've had no issues with my knees.
You're
since
not
then.
no knee Sienna anymore.
No. I that's the period I'd say I learned the most about myself as a person.
And sometimes it can be hard to see those things when that's happening.
Yeah, I mean, at the time it was like the whole time that was happening, it was the worst thing that ever happened to me in my entire life.
Yeah.
And now for me to stand here, like probably me from 2017 would be like, you what? Me here saying, that was the best thing that ever happened to me.
Yeah. No, I totally get that. But then even, you know, you said that towards the end of it, you started to notice that too.
I mean,
obviously
I
it's
noticed
a long rehab though,
how
a year.
I knew I was in final year of college, and like it was nice to I was doing my rehab religiously, like I just followed the program, but it was also nice to just more, I don't know, I felt closer to like my friends and able to participate in things with them while still being, you know, healthy and going to the gym and all those things. It made me see like you don't have to live this extreme life.
No. That's true. What about a sporting moment that was a good one?
Oh, I was waiting for you to ask.
Here we go again.
So
let me guess. World champion.
So let me explain. The best sporting moment that I have had is definitely winning the World Championships. But it's more than a moment, okay?
That's true, it is.
The reason that this is the thing that brings me the most satisfaction at the moment, like I'm sure I'll achieve more things soon, is that I'm really proud of the 3 to 4 months before the Worlds.
Yeah.
And how I prepared and how I committed to that process. Because that made the Worlds enjoyable.
Yeah.
Because I knew going in there, like, I've done everything I can. Regardless of what happens, I've, like, prepared. I feel good. So that's the first thing that made that, like, one of my favorite moments, if you will.
Yeah.
And then, if I even take away the outcome of the final, the opportunity to play in Croke Park, like the new facility that we have in Croke Park, with, you know, the 3 glass walls, and then there's like 500 spectators. That's not something you grow up with when you're playing handball.
No.
Like, you play handball when you're growing up with, you know, about 3 people in the crowd.
Yeah.
The referee is one of those 3. And
your mom is the other.
Yeah. So to do that is like, that's what, I don't want to be cliche, but that's like what dreams are made of when it comes to sport, is to play your sport in a sellout arena.
Absolutely.
On the biggest occasion that is in your sport.
Yeah.
Like, I was so excited to play in the final. And to then be able to win, that makes it all even better. The whole World's experience that I had was my favorite tournament ever. Yeah. And I compare that to up until that point, what would have been probably one of my favorite outcomes, I guess, it was winning the All Ireland in 2023. I think I performed amazingly on the day. I wouldn't necessarily say that I felt, not that I wasn't proud of, but I wouldn't have felt like I prepared or did everything I could in my preparation for that event. So the feeling I have about the Worlds is just more like complete.
Yeah.
In
It's like everything came together.
yeah, like I'm proud of the process and the outcome and the performance in the final and the performance throughout the week. Whereas with the All Ireland, it's like I'm proud of how I was able to perform on that day, and that's it.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, it sounds like for the World Championship, you took care of everything that you could take care of, essentially.
and I nearly feel proud. I feel like I showed up for myself in, like, I do think that I'm disciplined and committed and that I can set my mind to something and follow through. And I was brave in like setting that goal and working towards it. So yeah, that's why it's not better than the other, but it just stands out as like a more wholesome feeling for me.
Yeah, it was very wholesome.
Yeah.
And for someone that saw you throughout that whole journey too, I can attest to that. You did those things, you know.
Did the thing.
You did the thing, and then to have you be successful at the end was amazing for so many reasons. So
Yeah, I mean, it's not all about winning, but it makes it a little bit sweeter.
yeah, of course. But like you said, even without the outcome, you would have been proud of everything that you had done, you know.
Yeah, and that's something that really, and we could have another topic about a podcast about this. Like, that's something that really helped me that week, is going into that tournament being like, I'm already proud of myself.
Yeah. And I mean, that can be hard. It could have been the opposite, that you're like, all the things that I've done, now I have to show.
Yeah, true.
Using that word very purposely, have to show.
To make it all worth it.
Yeah, exactly.
All that time.
Yeah. And instead you kind of went in then with a freedom.
Yeah.
That everything that I've done, I am proud of that already. So regardless of what happens, I'm proud of what I've done until this point. So then I suppose you were, you trusted everything that you had done, and that carried you through the whole week.
Yeah.
Smiles. Such a lovely
Happy
memory.
times.
Yeah, I know.
See, guys, you can tear your ACL and then achieve great things.
Yeah, that's it. It's so funny because I feel like the 4 things that we talked about are so different.
I know. Yeah,
That's so different.
makes it interesting.
Yeah.
Everyone has different experiences
Yeah, absolutely.
and things that are important to them.
Yeah. Well, I suppose we should probably start wrapping this up.
Yeah,
It's
this
a
is
long one.
easily
The
going to
longest
be
one we've ever done.
our longest to date.
Yeah.
So, and obviously it's very different. So if you listen to the end, I would like you to DM us on Instagram and say the space in between is a great name.
Yeah, that's it.
Yeah.
Then we know.
Yeah, then we'll know. Okay.
Committed.
And as per usual, well, thank you for listening.
Yeah, if you made it all this way, thanks.
Yeah, you're a true fan.
Really, really are.
Yeah.
And then I promise we're gonna go back to our regularly scheduled content, not talking about ourselves the whole time. Sure, maybe we'll get some more of ourselves in there. But yeah.
Frida, it's been a pleasure to learn more about you.
Yeah, as always, the same.
Yeah, and remember to keep using the space in between.
And now you know what that means, lads.
Yeah, that's true. And now it's more impactful.
That's it.